All right, so I'm back. Now, for this video, we're gonna go back to the beginning. So, y'all know I'm a Libra. I'm telling you I'm a Libra. I'm an October baby. First Deacon October baby. Let me say that. Um, but I'm also an Aquarius moon. So my cutoff is surgical and it's forever. Okay. Um, but let's get back to the shit. So my mother, from young as I can remember, would tell me, yeah, Charles, I was a career girl. I never wanted kids. Your daddy wanted a bunch of kids, but he wasn't going to put all them babies in me, and he barely could keep a job. I was like, oh, okay. So you got to understand, I never felt wanted. I never felt like my existence mattered. My parents divorced when I was about maybe 6. They got married when I was 4, right? My last name was never changed to my father's last name. So I still carry the family last name from my mother's side. Um, so even that alone, like my father would let me know all my life how I should have been his last name and we need to get my last name changed. And I will tell you all the way until I was 35, living in Austin, my daddy wanted me to get my last name changed. Bitch, my whole life, I've been the same motherfucker. Like, this is not the time. Okay? Y'all were supposed to do that. All right. So, like I said, I felt like an orphan my entire life. My mother never showed interest in me. My mother was very male-centered, and that exacerbated the minute they divorced. Her and my father divorced. And when I say exacerbated, I mean exacerbated. My mother was a frequent club hopper, right? After her divorce, baby, it was on. The switch was on. Um, and my mother would go out and, drink, and she was never like, no, I don't want to say she was a alcoholic, because she was never an alcoholic, but she was more of a attention seeker, or like I said before, a image whore. She wanted anything that'll make her look good, right? But with that came a woman I had to watch and be like, Lord, I don't ever want to be like that when I grow up. Like, my mother would go out on the weekend and come home with a nigga. Okay? 2, 3 days later, that nigga lived there. That's how bad it was. Okay? The nigga lives there now. Okay? I could remember getting up on a weekend when she didn't have to work, but I know she went out Friday night or Saturday night, right? So I know, okay, she gonna be inside when she come home, woo de woo. I'm gonna go wake her up and we gonna see if we gonna do something today. Baby, it was times I would go to knock on my mother's door and that bitch would be locked and nobody would respond. I could remember being 11, walking in on my mama having sex. Literally just came from church with my aunt and her children and had to go walk into my house next door. And my mother is in there getting all her fucking head knocked in between the washer and dryer. In a pleasing way. I don't want to say she was getting her ass beat because she wasn't. Um, and I remember walking in there and come inside, ready to go inside. And I literally had to turn around and walk out my own house. And I left out of the gate and I went sit on my aunt's steps and I just sat there. And my cousins were like, Joseph, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? And I just couldn't say anything. I said nothing. So that has been a constant in my life. Just Before I knew what marijuana was, my mama had a nigga living in there smoking it every day. Okay? I used to come inside and be like, why does it smell like pine cones in here? You want no fucking pine cones. And that just continued. That continued. I think I had a new stepdaddy every 3 months. One incident that took place when I was about 15. This was another guy she met out. They started dating. Before you know it, he lived there. Now, this gentleman, I will not say his name. This man, sexually assaulted me. I told my mother about the incident. I think it went in one ear and out the other. And now that you know what, now that I'm older, I truly believe that when I told my mother about it, she was more pissed off that the nigga even found me attractive than what the fuck he did to me. Okay? Or it was as if, oh well, you know, I wasn't home, oh well. Right. I can remember my mother leaving and going out of town with a man, whoever that, another man, right? Leaving me, an only child, what? And just saying, hey, go by your grandma. Mind you, this is a grandmother that never cared for me. Let me say that. Her mother never cared for me. So I didn't feel no comfort being by her at all because me and this woman have never been uber close, right? And like I said in the previous video, my mother ran behind men. Let me say that over. My mother ran behind money and men, okay? If it wasn't those two things, it did not matter to my mother, okay? Did not matter, including me. My mother never came to a report card conference. My mother never came. I look, and people be like, well, Chelsea, why you didn't get in sports and you didn't march for what? My mother would have never showed up. My mother's living words all the time was, I gotta work. Yeah, I can't do that, I gotta work. But how in the fuck were you able to do all the things you wanted to do, right? Out of town and going to overnight bingo and all that whole ass shit. You were able to do all of those things, but you never had time for your child. Right. Excuse me, I need to light a cigarette because my nerves getting bad. I gotta tell y'all my Katrina story too. My Katrina story. Could you imagine going through a natural disaster at what, 15, just 15, 16? And your mother leaving with her fucking patient and their family? Didn't say she was leaving. I had to I showed up at her job because I hadn't heard from her. And to find out my mom hadn't left with her patient. Didn't say nothing. I'll get into that further down the line. Okay. Well, let's go back to the clubbing. Okay? Because it gets inappropriate. By the time I was 16, my mother viewed me as her go-out buddy. Right? I could tell you, if anybody from New Orleans know Bally's, let's go back to when Bally's used to have the DJ over there. All right? And the people would come out there to have a little ball night at the casino. You know, my mama used to make me go in there with her. You know, I used to get hit on by men 2-3 times my motherfucking age. And I was 16. Okay? Always looked older and was filled out body-wise as if I was older. But I wasn't.